My in-laws caused a lot of drama, and I made sure that others knew about it.
We're going to air out all their dirty laundry.
Oh, yeah. Am I the a-hole for getting unintended revenge on my in-laws by ruining their relationship with extended family? Let's find out, shall we? I'm female, 36, and my husband is 35, male. Included in this is husband's parents, mother-in-law and father-in-law, and husband's aunt and uncle, his father's sister. This is a long story spanning 10 years, but I don't have anyone who isn't emotionally involved in the situation, so I'd like some outside input. We got it for you. And while this is ridiculously long, it also feels like a death by a thousand cuts situation, so I wanted to include the smaller details so that you have the whole picture.
Oh boy.
Strap in, everyone. Lock in. By the way, this comes from Deleted, and if you want to submit your own stories, just go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, my husband and I have been married for 10 years. We met in my hometown while he was there on an extended work assignment and dated for a year before getting married. I met his parents twice before our wedding, as they lived several states away. The first time was on a quick overnight trip to their home after we got engaged, and the second time they crashed our vacation. The vacation story.
Uh-oh.
The day before we arrived at our vacation spot, his mom called my husband to say that they were going to the same place to vacation with us. He had told them a week prior where we were going while on a routine phone call with them. I got horribly ill right before we left with a double ear infection and chest infection, but since the vacation was already paid for and we had the time off work, we went anyway. Dang. Not the ideal situation for a vacation. I pushed through though, but it was a rough time for me. His parents expected us to spend the entire time with them and were upset if we tried to do anything by ourselves. What? They also made snide comments about me needing to take breaks and naps due to my illness and not participating in drinking bar hopping after dinner. Honestly, I was so sick I don't remember a lot. My husband was okay with it, as it was supposed to be just him and me anyway, and he wanted to make sure that I was taken care of. The third time I met his family was during our wedding day. Originally, I had wanted a courthouse wedding with only our parents and then a large backyard barbecue/potluck. Dude, tell Sophia, she would love that. She loves the idea of a barbecue wedding thing. At the time of the wedding, I knew that we were moving to my husband's hometown soon due to his work, and since I didn't have a job lined up, I was trying to plan the wedding, so we spent as little as possible. My husband was fine with this. His mother called me after my husband told his parents about the wedding plans and asked me to do a real wedding. She explained that since she eloped and never had a real wedding, she wanted that for her only child.
Okay.
I later found out that mother-in-law and father-in-law had a large wedding after their elopement.
So, if that wasn't real in their eyes,
Yeah.
then what is a real wedding? Is
So-
it going to be larger?
Yeah, exactly.
Extra very large?
Exactly. I rolled with it, and thanks to the amazing friends and family, I was able to organize a decent wedding in 6 weeks with about 60 guests. I didn't really like being on this spot in a crowd, but the important part was celebrating our love and dedication and sharing that with the important people in our lives, so it's fine. I'm thankful for the day now for all it represents, but a part of me still wishes I had stuck to my pew-pews.
Firearms.
I stuck to my firearm. That sounds like a different situation.
I stuck to the tools I used to defend my defensible land.
I think my anxious self would have had a lot of a better time. His mother initially offered to help, but never followed through or changed her mind every time I turned around. They offered to pay for the bar tab during the reception, but changed their minds. My husband handled them and got it sorted because I had enough on my plate, but I didn't appreciate the constant extra work it was to deal with them flip-flopping when I had enough going on. And no, it wasn't money. I asked for a budget, and it was well under what they told me it was their max. I offered to pay for mother-in-law and my own mother to get hair and makeup done the day of the wedding. I did this for all the bridesmaids as well, since being a bridesmaid can be so expensive, and I was trying to help them out. Initially, mother-in-law declined, then last minute told me that she wanted the services, which caused me to have to pay more out of pocket than I was planning, and most annoying, rearrange the schedule 2 days before the wedding. Additionally, mother-in-law and father-in-law were supposed to bring my husband's grandmother to the wedding, but changed their minds last minute as it would be inconvenient for them. Due to their medical issues, grandma wasn't able to fly, and they were the only family on his side driving. They came in an RV
Fun.
and took over a week to drive 15 hours and used it as extra vacation time for them before and after the wedding.
Okay.
Sure.
That's fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
Since Grandma wasn't able to come, my husband's aunt and uncle had to stay at home and help take care of her, and we weren't able to attend either. They were the primary caretakers of Grandma, and my husband's parents had never watched her to share the load, even though they lived close. This caused an ongoing rift between the aunt and uncle and mother and father-in-law. My husband's family is so small, so the only people related to him that ended up coming were his parents. I felt sad for him compared to my large family, but we had plenty of friends there to support him, so I let it go. The day of the wedding went fine, usual ups and downs and last-minute problems. I was so busy that it wasn't until later when my mom told me about mother-in-law trying to take our gifts.
Dude, I'm trying to clock mother-in-law.
Yeah.
She's back and forth. Doesn't sound like she doesn't really know what she wants.
Yeah.
And now is trying to take the gifts.
Yeah. She's a wild one. Unpredictable.
Yeah, and I also see animosity coming from the aunts and uncles staying back with Grandma, and they might come into play later.
The gift story. Due to being established in our homes and moving shortly after the wedding, we did a wishing well for our wedding gifts. We advised all guests that we didn't want gifts just for them to come celebrate, especially as many people were out of town, and if they wanted to gift something, to gift us cash and put it in our wishing well fund so that we could use it for our future. That's a cute little thing to call it, a little wishing well.
Mm-hmm.
My mom found this poem to go with the explanation, and it was adorable, so I let her handle that. The day of the wedding, my mother found mother-in-law trying to open the cards addressed to Mr. and Mrs., my married last name. When my mom saw this, she told mother-in-law to stop and told her that the cards were for my husband and me. Mother-in-law said that the cards had her name on it. Oh. She's like, I'm Mrs. blah, blah, blah.
Well, my name is written on it. My name's written on it.
Yes, that's right. She told my mom that she thought the gifts were for her since they had her name on it. Never mind, she was at her son's wedding. My mom didn't want to stress me out, so she didn't say anything until much later, but she set mother-in-law straight and was not gentle. Wedding was great. We passed on a honeymoon to save up for the move, and a little bit later, we were moving to my husband's hometown. His parents had generously offered to let us stay with them until we both had jobs and were able to find housing in their area, and I was super thankful to have some support since I had never lived so far away from my family before. Our stuff was packed in storage until we were able to find a place. We arrived after a long move and drive. It was the second time I had ever been to his parents' home. Upon arrival, we found one large difference than before. Every room except the bathroom and our bedroom had cameras. Some even 2 cameras to catch different angles. Even the front and backyard had cameras. Mother-in-law and father-in-law wanted to keep an eye on the house while we stayed with them. I know, looking back, we never should have stayed, but you can't change the past. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Also, there's one person I have not heard a word from, and that's husband. Has he said anything?
Mother-in-law and father-in-law were the only ones with access to the cameras and would frequently question or comment on our activities during the day over dinner. They also would inspect the bathroom and bedroom we used and comment if we left anything out of place, didn't have the bed made, or didn't have things the way they liked. Since I didn't have a job, I tried to be as helpful as possible and took over all the housework and cooking, even doing yard work, laundry, and pet care as needed. I began to feel like a prisoner, and in between job searching, I went for walks to try and stay out of the house or just hid in the bedroom if I wasn't doing chores. This caused mother-in-law and father-in-law to comment on me being unsocial because I wasn't in the communal areas of the home.
How do they know that?
From these things. They're
I
spying.
know, but like, maybe that's just some people. Dude, on the weekends, I'm nowhere to be seen in the communal area. I am just in my room playing video games all weekend.
Yeah.
And maybe outside.
Also, the walls in this house were thin, so I didn't even feel like I could speak with my husband in our bedroom without being overheard. More than once, we would hear someone in the hallway if we were talking to each other, and I figured that they were eavesdropping. We spent a lot of time whispering and texting, even when sitting next to each other with the bedroom door closed. After a few weeks, I found a job and started work. I continued to do cooking and cleaning, however, as we still weren't paying rent or utilities. Husband and I told his parents we would find our own place. His parents convinced us that they were happy to have us and offered to let us stay for free so that we could save to buy a home. I figured with everything we had saved and been gifted, it would only be a few months of savings before we were ready for this. We discussed it privately, my husband acknowledging the cameras and his parents' behavior, but ultimately we decided to stay to get the best leg up for our future. My husband had student loans, so after speaking with his parents, we paid them off out of our savings. Yes, it was a good chunk of money, and began saving for a house. Note, father-in-law had taken out a personal loan as well and gave it to my husband to help with college. Oh, wow. This will be important later. Oh, no. After a few weeks, mother-in-law and father-in-law decided to go on a weekend vacation and left us in charge of the house. I was so happy to be alone, but the first night they called and asked about their pets, but again made many comments on what we had been doing throughout the day, making it clear that they were watching us on the cameras. At this point, anxiety over being constantly watched got to me, and I asked my husband to turn off the Wi-Fi or even go to the extreme of breaking the cameras because I needed a break.
That's destruction of property.
He covered the cameras with socks and told his parents it was so that they couldn't watch us. There you go. Just be upfront. That works too. Dakota McMind.
Cover with socks, put strings on the socks so whenever you leave, you can pull them down easily and then walk away. And then you put them back on whenever you do.
Yeah, do some Home Alone stuff. That's what we're doing.
With those, yeah. Or you could just be honest like he was. That works too, right?
Yeah, I mean, on a real level,
sure.
I think literally just like smack the cameras with like a stick.
Or a baseball bat.
Yeah. You can make it fun, get a little Nerf gun, make it like a thing where
Hey,
you
babe,
try to like hit, shoot it off of the railings.
Yeah, I like that.
Or you get the suction cup ones, and even better, try to hit it right on the camera.
Yeah.
Of course, they called upset that they couldn't watch us. We had peace for a day, and I felt better, but was really regretting not moving out. We discussed it again, but decided to stay. No costs were allowing us to save up quite a bit, especially after paying off the loan. The following night, we had my husband's old high school friend and his wife to dinner. Since I didn't have friends in the new area, my husband was trying to help me find a social circle. His parents called halfway through the evening. They'd seen the couple arrive on the outdoor cameras and began cussing me and my husband out. I could tell that they were both very intoxicated. My husband was used to this behavior from his childhood and wasn't saying anything, just letting them go until they stopped. But I could tell that he was upset, and the friends could hear everything. I took charge, told his parents that we'd talk when they were sober and calm, and disconnected. We didn't answer them for the rest of the night. They came back early the next morning and were livid, and we sat down and tried to discuss. The discussion started badly and ended worse. Oh, great. His father wouldn't stop screaming and cursing at us. His mother fabricated a situation in which she had told my husband not to have a party and kept saying that we betrayed their trust by having 2 people over. They tried to chide us like children. My husband and I had both lived on our own since 18, paid our own bills, and made our own way. At this point, we're 26, 27. My husband and I tried to calm them down and explain that we were both adults who could have people over for dinner, but his mother stomped off to another room and continued crying and wailing.
Dude, you gotta
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
That's
Get out of there.
insane. Why is an adult mad you had friends over for dinner?
Literally. Like
2 people.
2 people. That's not a party. Don't you know the saying? 2 is company, 3 is a crowd.
You need at least a 0 on the end of that 2 for it to be party status.
Yeah. So father-in-law left and slammed things around on his way. Jeez. My husband and I went to the movies, went for lunch and a walk. We came home late to sleep, and they didn't acknowledge us. The next Monday, mother-in-law cornered my husband and gave him a list of demands that I had to do to earn her acceptance. One of which was to cry on demand because, in her words, I was so calm that she thought I was a robot. So she demanded that I be able to show her that I could have emotions. I have never heard such a thing.
Yeah, that's one of the most toxic things I might have ever heard.
I also had to apologize for being ungrateful. Mind you, I am still doing all of the cooking and cleaning and the laundry too. When my husband told me the demands, I lost my temper with him. It is the only time I've ever yelled at him in anger, and I made it clear that his mother was manipulating him and putting conditions on her love and acceptance. So the husband is backing up the mom right now? That she was doing this to get us to do what she wanted. I told my husband that if his mother ever wanted anything from me, she could talk to me herself. And if he ever got between us again, I would leave him. So yes, I lost my temper. But also, this helped open my husband's eyes all the way and see what his mother and father were doing.
Manipulating. See what I'm saying?
There you go. Manipulate back. Fight fire with fire. Am I right?
And he gets it.
Lore from OP, I have to say, as a child of emotional, I don't think he recognized that this behavior was wrong the same way I did. He has a lot of trauma he hides under laughter, but I wasn't willing to let our relationship be controlled by his mom. We had a long talk in our car and resolved to find a place to live and move out as soon as possible. We got back and I asked mother-in-law if she wanted to speak with me. She looked to my husband and I shooed him away, explaining that she needed to speak with me directly, not through him. She turned away and refused to speak with me. She hasn't spoken to me since.
I know people like this, and it's just annoying to be around.
2 days later, we were homeless. My husband had a big blow up with his parents, who cornered him while I was at work. I came back to find the car loaded with all of our clothes and anything that wasn't in storage. Helped my husband with the last of it, and we left. At this point, I didn't even question it. I was 100% happy not being there. One of my husband's friends offered us a spare room, although it was awkward as I had never met the friend until moving into their house. It took us a few weeks until we were able to find a place to stay. But I felt so much better not being constantly watched and spied on. Dude, I bet. Yeah.
I freaking bet.
My husband wanted to cut ties with his parents and opened up to me more about some situations in his childhood that were 100%. He isn't one to dwell, and I'm the only person he has ever opened up to about this in such detail and without laughing to make light of the situation. Wow, that's good, big improvement from someone who, does that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I encouraged my husband to have low contact with his parents as he wanted to go no contact. He would occasionally go to lunch or dinner with them. They never wanted me there, and mother-in-law would make comments to my husband about how he should make sure to avoid having children with me because when you get divorced, etc., etc.
Okay. Not only are you talking about my wife, you're talking about my immediate family.
Yeah.
And as a family member, we don't talk about our family like that.
Not at all.
Dude, that is so toxic.
Yeah.
Ugh, these mother-in-laws be getting under my skin. The way Dakota doesn't like when people mistreat animals, that's how I feel about mother-in-laws. I just can't. Bad in-laws, dude.
This upset my husband, but when he would say something to mother-in-law, she would gaslight him, saying that he misunderstood her. Father-in-law showed up one day at husband's work and was yelling and screaming about husband needing to pay him for the personal loan. We agreed to pay it just to keep the peace, but it was almost $500 a month, and it definitely put a dent in the house savings. Husband felt responsible since father-in-law took the loan out for him to use. This altercation also looked super bad to husband's coworkers and supervisors, and he got a lot of problems at work for several weeks because of this. Several months later, my husband got an important job honor, being generic for privacy, and invited his parents, who declined to come. My family flew down to go to the ceremony. Even my sister came and brought her 3 small children on a 12-hour drive. Wow. My family loves my husband. My parents consider him a bonus son, so it was great that we had all their support. I managed to get in touch with my family's aunt and uncle and invited them. They had been told some horrible things by father-in-law and mother-in-law about us, but agreed to come. Husband's ceremony was a great day, and I loved supporting him and seeing how they honored him. Later, his aunt pulled me aside and asked me questions about everything going on with father-in-law and mother-in-law. She told me that she had gone to father-in-law's work and tried to get him to come to the ceremony, but he refused. She is used to being in arguments with her brother and his wife, mother-in-law, so wasn't surprised at the drama. She told me that they'd get over it eventually, but she and uncle were both mad at mother-in-law and father-in-law for their behavior and for refusing to come to the ceremony. Husband's aunt and I talked regularly, and we began visiting with them for lunches and dinners and have slowly gotten closer over time. They have been a wonderful support system, and I often think of them as my true in-laws. Mother and father-in-law spread a lot of rumors through the extended family about my husband and me, saying that we had treated them so badly. It took years of just being ourselves, and eventually husband's extended family saw through this, but it was rough for a while. The worst was husband's grandmother's funeral. Father and mother-in-law were supposed to invite us. Aunt had planned the whole thing and had a lot to take care of, but thankfully only 2 days ahead called me to confirm if we were attending. I didn't know anything about it, as mother and father-in-law hadn't told us. Wow, so 2 days, okay, we gotta go to this. I gotta go to this funeral. Man. We made it, and due to us coming, mother-in-law refused to attend. Oh, wow. Father-in-law was stilted and awkward and left early. Yes, this is his own mother that has passed away. Oh my gosh, that's awful. About a year later, father-in-law ended up retiring and asked husband if they should move, and if they did, where to go so that they could be close to it. My husband's answer was that it didn't matter, as we can come visit or have them over regardless of where they settle, and told them to pick somewhere that would make them happy. Mother and father-in-law took this to mean that he didn't care about them and lost their minds.
It was more of a, go live your best life in Florida and we'll come visit you if you want.
Exactly.
That's what that said. That's what I heard.
Truly,
Exactly.
like that was a it was like literally go wherever you want, I'll go to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah.
what do you do?
Lots of nasty things were said to husband. Mother and father-in-law moved, and after a year, lost their home in a natural disaster. Oh no.
Oh, no.
To help out, husband started a GoFundMe that raised them almost $10,000, and we donated money and a lot of home goods and things for them. They later told him that he didn't do enough for them during this time.
Okay, we'll take that back. We'll take that money back. We'll give
Like,
it to someone else
yeah,
in that
thanks.
community that would actually appreciate it. Thank you.
Exactly, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna send you a little invoice there for $10,000.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Why? But this story is snowballing at the end here. It's
It really
like
is.
Yeah, it's just getting
there's
worse.
people passing away. There's natural disasters. It's like,
Dude.
whoa.
My husband still talked to his parents on and off for about 4 years after all of this, until finally deciding to cut him off.
Nice.
The Mother's Day story. Husband called mother-in-law to wish her a happy day. She didn't answer, so he texted her. She called back later and told him via voicemail that she never liked this day because it reminded her of her biggest regret.
Wait a minute.
Oh
Boo, boo, boo,
my
boo.
God! Roasted! Boom! Roasted! Dang, man! Dang!
Ooh,
Holy crap!
Wait, so did I read that
Okay, talked on.
the mom just told her son, like, it reminds me that I had you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, those are direct quotes. He decided to go no contact, and unlike before, I fully supported him this time. I wrote them a letter, which he approved, and told them that they could contact me if they wanted to get in touch, and we'd like to have a better relationship in the future. Husband blocked them on everything. I was tired of them hurting him. I could see it every time they interacted, and every time my heart broke for him. Part of the no contact was the personal loan his father had taken out. My husband felt like since he used the money for school, he should pay it, even though it was in father-in-law's name. Part of why I love my husband is that he is responsible, so I agreed. We ended up writing them a check for $6,000, the balance of the loan at that point, and sent it with the no contact letter.
Ooh.
Paying the loan wasn't a problem for me, but its existence was. The balance never stayed the same. They refused to show us statements, and at one point, father-in-law refinanced the loan, but a lot of things didn't make sense. Can you refinance a loan? Is that a thing?
They
Yeah.
figured it out. I mean, yeah, people finance their houses. That's a loan.
Yeah,
I
it's like
guess.
basically you
mortgage
just
loan.
refinance for like refinancing is actually I'm not even going to talk about that because I don't know that
Yeah, there's
well.
a lot
But
of
it's like
adult
basically
things
when you
into it.
already have a loan and you're like I need more loan, you can just make
Okay.
it
Re-up for more
one
money.
You
loan.
just update. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The payment went from $200 a month to $500 a month, and father-in-law gave conflicting statements about the total owed, so it inflated several thousand suddenly. My husband doesn't think father-in-law would lie, but I'm not so sure. Yeah, I think he would lie, for sure.
Oh yeah, he got $6,000 out of you. Of course, he's gonna try and do something to get more out of you.
Well, yeah, no, and technically he got 16 because he
From the
got the
10.
10 from the GoFundMe or from
Yeah.
the house.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Dang,
And he
dude.
still was like, you didn't do anything for me.
I think they manipulated my husband to pay off some of their own debts. Regardless, with the check and the letter, we were done. No more in-laws. It was a lot nicer, not gonna lie. We still had some updates from Aunt, which was okay with us. At one point, Aunt told us that father-in-law had admitted to cutting husband out of their will. Ooh. Whatever, we don't need anything, but it did make me laugh. Aunt is the executor and advised that if it comes to her, she is going to give us the entire estate anyway, regardless of mother and father-in-law's wishes.
All right.
Nice. Husband's uncle passed away recently, and his loss was hard for my husband.
Dang, he was like a good family.
Yeah. He had basically adopted my husband, helped him with home projects. Yes, we finally got a house. Father-in-law and mother-in-law refused to come to his funeral, and Aunt was pissed. Not only was she grieving, but she had to deal with their problems and got very upset with them. Now, almost 10 years after our wedding, we were out to dinner with Aunt. I mentioned something about my husband's father, the old one-twoing him in the face when he was 15. Oh, it fit the conversation we were having, and I didn't really think about it before saying anything. Aunt was stunned. Husband told her more details about the situation, answered questions, and soon a few of the worst moments of husband's childhood were being shared over appetizers.
Oof.
Physical, emotional abuse, and neglect. Honestly, it wasn't even close to everything that had happened to him, but it was enough. Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh.
So it just became more real how terrible these parents are to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Dang, and you gave back so much to him too.
Yeah.
Out of respect.
All that you did. So it's good that now they have no contact. That's great. Aunt has since told me of husband's family about everything and also gotten into it with mother and father-in-law over the abuse. It seems like family relationships with mother and father-in-law are damaged beyond repair at this point. I feel guilty, but I also think that they did it on their own through long years of drama and petty behavior. We aren't the only ones they have problems with. Mother and father-in-law consistently have issues with family and friends, so if not this, it would have been something. But I do feel that me saying something without thinking about it first ended up with them being more isolated as a consequence. And while I don't wish to have contact with them, I also don't want them to be out of touch with their family as they get older and start to have age-related medical issues. So am I the a-hole?
I don't think you're the a-hole.
No.
Feels like it came up naturally. Like you may have like started it and it may have like evoked some emotions, but I mean, someone's got to know how bad these people are.
By the way, this story is done, but good thing we have full episodes with more stories just like this one.
On your podcast platform of choice, be it
iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. He's good. But yeah, wow. So that is the end of that story.
Dang,